infrastructure, and financial administration. When one contemplates the grandeur of Rome, it is tempting to focus solely on its disciplined legions, its monumental architecture, or the political theater of emperors and senators. Yet behind the marble surfaces and triumphal parades existed a strategic economic engine whose durability carried the empire through centuries of turmoil, expansion, and transformation. At the heart of this engine were the trade routes, arteries and veins of commerce, linking distant provinces from Britannia's misty shores to the sun-scorched deserts of Arabia, enabling goods, ideas, and wealth to circulate in a rhythm that sustained Rome's colossal appetite for resources. These routes were not accidental creations, but deliberate, meticulously planned manifestations of a vision in which order and movement became tools of prosperity, and prosperity, in turn, legitimized power. Consider the iconic Roman roads, their stones laid with such precision that fragments survive 2 millennia later. To the common traveler, they provided a reliable path. To merchants, they offered safety and predictability. But to Roman administrators, they were instruments of economic discipline. Through them flowed Spanish olive oil, Gallic wine, British tin, Egyptian grain, Syrian textiles, and exotic spices brought from even farther east, via the Silk Road's indirect channels. The stability of this circulation depended on Pax Romana, the Roman peace, a period of relative calm that allowed traders to move with reduced fear of bandits or political upheaval. Yet the prosperity of Pax Romana was no accident. It was engineered by a government deeply aware that commerce thrives when security and predictability are maintained. This economic philosophy underscored the Roman belief that wealth was not merely harvested, but cultivated through structure, law, and order. Beneath the grand movement of goods lay the subtler machinery of taxation, a system both admired and criticized by historians for its complexity. Roman taxation operated on several layers: direct taxes on land and individuals, indirect taxes on trade, sales, and manumission, and provincial tributes that reminded conquered regions of their subordination. But the ingenuity of Rome's approach lay in its delegation. Rather than managing every tax internally, the empire frequently relied on publicani private tax contractors who bid for collection rights. This outsourcing allowed the state to guarantee revenue while shifting collection risks onto private actors who, motivated by profit, often extracted more than necessary. Although this led to abuses, it also created an economic ecosystem where private enterprise became entangled with state machinery, forming a hybrid model that fueled both growth and resentment. Over time, reforms such as those introduced by Augustus sought to reduce excesses and stabilize the financial order, recognizing that overtaxing a province threatened to disrupt the very trade networks upon which Rome depended. The monetary system of Rome further illustrates its economic sophistication. The standardized coinage, gold aureus, silver denarius, bronze sestertius, functioned as more than currency. It was propaganda, stability, and control embodied in metal. Coins bore the image of emperors, reinforcing legitimacy with every transaction. Their consistent weight and purity facilitated long-distance trade across regions that otherwise lacked shared financial systems. Yet even this carefully designed structure faced challenges. Inflation, debasement, and fiscal crises emerged during periods of political instability, prompting emperors like Diocletian to implement sweeping reforms such as price edicts and restructuring of tax obligations. Although these measures met mixed results, they reveal how deeply Rome understood the connection between economic discipline and imperial survival. Trade routes, taxation, and monetary policy were intertwined with another essential component of Roman economic success: infrastructure. Aqueducts transported water with astonishing precision, supporting urban populations whose demand for goods stimulated markets across the empire. Harbors expanded with artificial breakwaters, enabling larger ships to dock and unload cargo efficiently. Warehouses, marketplaces, and administrative buildings created hubs where local and imported products intertwined, generating employment and local revenue. Even the grain supply system, the Annona, operated as a complex logistical network designed to ensure the capital never starved. for the emperors knew that a hungry Rome was a dangerous Rome. And so subsidies and regulated distribution became tools of both social stability and economic management. These systems highlight a truth often overlooked. Rome's greatness was not just in what it conquered, but in what it organized. Yet no economic structure, however sophisticated, is immune to the pressures of scale, geography, and human ambition. As the empire expanded, so too did its fiscal obligations. Soldiers demanded pay, borders required defense, cities needed reconstruction after disasters, and political elites expected patronage. To meet these growing expenses, Rome increasingly depended on the productivity of its provinces, whose output had to be transported efficiently and taxed judiciously. The Mediterranean, known as Mare Nostrum, our sea, acted as the empire's central highway, where fleets of merchant ships carried grain from Alexandria, marble from Greece, metals from the Iberian Peninsula, and countless other commodities. Maritime trade proved cheaper and faster than land transport, and thus, the sea became a strategic asset whose safety was maintained through anti-piracy campaigns and naval patrols. This vigilance ensured that the flow of vital resources remained steady, underscoring the empire's understanding that economic stability was inseparable from military oversight. The interdependency between trade and taxation raised a critical challenge. How to optimize revenue without suffocating the very commerce that generated it? Roman administrators grappled with this dilemma constantly, adjusting tax rates, restructuring provincial governance, and monitoring corrupt officials who threatened economic equilibrium. In prosperous times, the system appeared almost self-sustaining. In turbulent periods, it revealed its vulnerabilities. For instance, when political succession became contested, or when border pressures intensified, resources were diverted from infrastructure and trade protection to military expenditures. These shifts strained provincial economies, causing fluctuating tax yields and weakening trade networks. Nonetheless, Rome's underlying economic philosophy persisted. Stability and prosperity were objectives achieved through structured systems, not chance. Cultural factors also played a role in shaping the economic fabric of the empire. Roman attitudes toward commerce evolved over time. Early Roman elites considered trade beneath their dignity, viewing it as an activity for freedmen and foreigners. Yet as the empire expanded, wealth from commerce became impossible to ignore, gradually integrating merchants and entrepreneurs into higher social spheres. Wealthy equestrians invested in shipping, mining, manufacturing, and long-distance trade, blurring the line between aristocratic restraint and economic ambition. This shift reflected a broader truth that Rome's economic strength stemmed not only from state control, but from the participation of diverse actors across its vast territories, each contributing to a system that harnessed both public authority and private enterprise. All of these factors, roads, seas, taxes, markets, money, wove together into a vast, intricate web. But at the center of this web lay a principle Rome grasped intuitively. Economic power is cumulative. It grows when supported by consistent policy, maintained infrastructure, and a stable social order. It collapses when fragmentation, corruption, or external pressures disrupt the delicate balance between extraction and growth. The later centuries of the empire would expose these tensions with increasing clarity as inflation surged, military spending ballooned, and political chaos undermined the confidence that once made Roman trade routes hum with activity. Yet even in decline, the remnants of Rome's economic system influenced successors for generations. Medieval trade routes revived along the skeleton of Roman roads. Legal frameworks echoed Roman principles, and the very idea of taxation as a structured, organized mechanism was inherited by states centuries after Rome's fall. Understanding these patterns allows us to appreciate how deeply Roman financial strategies shaped the economic architecture of the Western world, and how the empire's blend of discipline, ambition, and adaptability created a legacy that endured long after the last emperor in the West laid down his crown, and the echoes of the Senate faded into memory, leaving historians to piece together the vast mosaic of policies, practices, and principles that allowed an ancient empire to rise to such extraordinary heights before the inevitable forces of time began to bend its foundations, like a mighty arch, slowly succumbing to the weight it once so proudly bore, revealing at last that the true secret of Rome's economy lay not in conquest, but in the fragile equilibrium between order and opportunity, an equilibrium that would eventually falter when the demands of empire outpaced its capacity to sustain the delicate balance between revenue and responsibility that had once seemed as eternal as the city itself. Beginning with the moment when starting, from the moment when imperial ambitions swelled beyond the administrative capacities that had once held the vast Roman economy in equilibrium, and the machinery of governance began to strain under the weight of rising costs, shifting borders, and political uncertainty. As the 3rd century unfolded, a series of rapid successions, military usurpations, and external invasions destabilized the environment that had previously nurtured commerce. Trade routes, once bustling with merchant fleets and caravans, grew perilous as security faltered, and provinces that had reliably supplied grain, minerals, or tax revenue found themselves disrupted by local rebellions or foreign incursions. In this atmosphere of volatility, the delicate synchronization between revenue extraction and economic growth began to waver. For without consistent protection and predictable administration, markets recoiled, prices fluctuated, and confidence, Rome's invisible currency, started to unravel. The Roman state, desperate to maintain its armies and administrative apparatus, pushed the tax burden ever higher, compelling landowners to remain tied to their estates and pushing small farmers into debt or abandonment of their lands. Monetary debasement became a common tool. Silver coins were gradually diluted, decreasing their intrinsic value, even as the nominal amounts in circulation increased. Inflation surged, eroding trust in the currency system that had once knit together distant regions. Emperors attempted corrective measures, Diocletian's reforms being among the most prominent, but even sweeping interventions struggled to reverse the cumulative effects of decades-long fiscal erosion. His edict on maximum prices, though ambitious, could not overcome the reality that price controls without underlying stability merely distorted markets and incentivized black market trade, further weakening the official economy. Yet within this labyrinth of instability lay lessons that resonate far beyond antiquity. For the fall of Rome's economic system was not sudden but gradual, a long descent shaped by structural imbalances rather than singular catastrophes. High military expenditures drained the treasury, declining productivity in key provinces reduced tax revenue, administrative corruption siphoned off resources, and repeated monetary manipulations compromised the integrity of the fiscal system. Even the empire's reliance on forced labor and slavery, once an asset in times of expansion, became a liability as innovation stagnated and the economy failed to adapt to demographic and technological changes. The system that had once thrived on expansion found itself constrained when expansion halted, revealing a model insufficiently equipped for sustainable internal growth. As the Western Empire fractured in the 5th century, trade networks contracted dramatically. Urban centers that had once teemed with artisans, merchants, and imported goods shrank or emptied altogether. The grand roads deteriorated, harbors silted up, and coin circulation dwindled. But this decline was neither total nor final. In the East, the Byzantine Empire preserved and transformed many Roman economic principles, maintaining robust trade across the Mediterranean and the Near East. Even in the West, the legacy of Roman economic thought survived through monastic record-keeping, emerging medieval markets, and the eventual revival of long-distance trade routes. Roman law, deeply rooted in principles of property, contract, and taxation, influenced emerging European states, shaping fiscal institutions and legal frameworks for centuries to come. The deeper significance of Rome's economic secrets lies not only in how they fueled an empire, but in how they illustrated fundamental truths about the balance of power, wealth, and governance. Rome demonstrated that trade flourishes in stability, that taxes must be calibrated rather than imposed blindly, that currency depends on trust as much as metal, and that infrastructure, roads, harbors, aqueducts becomes the skeleton upon which prosperity is built. At the same time, Rome revealed the fragility of these systems. When political cohesion dissolves, when spending exceeds resources, and when short-term fixes replace long-term strategies, even the greatest economies can falter. These lessons remain relevant, echoing through modern financial crises, debates over government spending, and the global reliance on interconnected trade networks. In the end, the story of Rome's economic rise and fall stands as a vast mirror, reflecting the perennial challenges of managing scale, power, and human ambition. The empire's successes were born from vision, organization, and disciplined control. Its failures emerged from complacency, overextension, and the erosion of foundational systems. And yet, despite its collapse, Rome's financial architecture did not vanish. Its ideas migrated into modern governance, international trade, legal codes, and fiscal theory, proving that while the empire itself may have faded, its economic wisdom continues to influence the world. Thus, the Roman Empire's greatest economic secret is not merely hidden in dusty records or archaeological ruins, but lives on in the enduring principles that guide nations today, reminding us that prosperity is never permanent, stability is never guaranteed, and the most powerful empires are those that understand how to balance ambition with restraint, opportunity with caution, and authority with the constant need to maintain the fragile trust upon which every economic system ultimately depends.